Alright, today what I want to do is show ZAppLink. ZAppLink will allow me to take these photographs and project it onto a character as a texture. So I'm just going to go ahead and go into Lightbox, go into this demo head, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to position this character from this angle, and then I'm going to use ZAppLink to and then essentially wrap this photo around it. Then I'm going to rotate it this way, and then I'm going to wrap this photo onto it, or I guess I should say project it onto it, and then I'm going to try to make them seamlessly blend together. And it's actually a fairly simple idea, very easy to do, and it's kind of a hidden thing. So it's under Document ZAppLink is where it's located, and I feel like it's not utilized or kind of talked about much, so I'm going to kind of show you how powerful this is. Now, a few things that I want to mention is that these are really high resolution photographs, okay? And if I look at this and zoom in, I can see that it's, even if I zoom in a lot, it's really high resolution, and that's ideal, what you want, okay? And to find high resolution photographs, this set of photographs was from 3DSK, so this is a professional website that takes photos of people and even animals and different things like that, even scans, and you can purchase them. So basically like even lighting, perfect angles for 3D artists, that type of thing. And there's obviously other sites that you can get photos like that, or you can even take your own photos and try it, what I'm about to show. The other thing is that I'm going to kind of zoom out here, and I want it, the size of the canvas is going to make a difference when I send it to Photoshop. So if I go to Document, I'm just going to set the range to 0.5, and I can see the fade. Now I can kind of see how big my canvas is. And if I go to Document, mine is now 1400 by 800 pixels. I'm going to turn off constrained proportions. I'm going to make this a big square. So I'm going to type in 2048 by 2048. That's 2048 pixels by 2048 pixels. I'll hit resize, Control N, drag it on again, and hit edit. Okay, now when I send this to Photoshop, I don't want to send it like this. I want to make sure I physically zoom the document out, make sure that I bring this guy as close to the canvas as possible, or the document as possible. I'm also going to turn off perspective. Okay. Another thing that I have to keep in mind is that what I'm going to do is I'm going to, when we project that photograph onto this, it's going to, the resolution is going to be dependent on how many polygons this guy has, because it's going to project it for polypainting. So what I need to do, subtool, I might as well turn off his eyes, because I'm only going to do the skin here. And if I come down here to geometry, I can see that this guy right now is at only 56,000 polys. So I'm going to go ahead and divide him. He's at 250,000, 900,000, 3.6 million. Maybe we'll divide him one more time, 14 million. Okay, that should be way more than enough information for what I'm doing. Okay, excellent. And I think I'm just going to change his material to this skin shade 4, and we'll kind of see why in a little bit. Okay, yeah, maybe I'll try that, and maybe I'll change that later, but I feel like kind of this white one, I think they'll be good to use. All right, I think we're ready to get started. So let's go ahead and jump in. I'm going to think about what angle do I want. Okay, I'm going to start with this front one, so that's why I snapped it to the front view here. And now I'm going to go like this: Document, ZAppLink, and it says, hey, the guy doesn't have, you know, he doesn't have an assigned texture, or the RGB isn't on. I'm going to say Enable Polygon Colorize. Okay, and now, hey, how do I want to do this? Well, double-sided would mean that if I project on the front of the face, it's going to go out of the back of his face as well. Okay, that would make more sense if I was starting like from the ears and then going to the other side. Fade is going to kind of fade it on the edges, and then Set Target App So if you have multiple painting programs on your computer, you can select what program you want to use. Or if you had multiple versions, you could say, hey, I want to use the latest version of Photoshop. So you'd set your target app. I'm just going to go ahead and hit drop now. What it's going to do, it's going to go ahead and drop this, and it's going to bring it into Photoshop because that's the target app that I had set. And I can see that here's the layers that it automatically created for us. And the size of this document, if I go to image size, is 2048 by 2048 because that's what we told it. Okay, I'll go ahead and open the image that I want. Okay, great. Here it is. I'll go ahead and copy this. Control C, Control V, Control T, and I can kind of drag this down. And you might be saying, well, what's that kind of that purple on there? And that's kind of the highlight from this one. Okay, and we could change the material to see if we can get something that looks better, but I feel like that's not, that's not too bad. Okay, it's not really going to affect our color at all. I'm just getting his eyes kind of close, and I can see that his mouth is kind of close. And I can kind of stretch this like that. Okay, you might say, well, his ears aren't very close, but I feel like I don't care about his ears. I'm going to worry about that kind of at another angle. Okay, and just so you can kind of see this, if I go down to his mouth, here's kind of a cool trick. What I could do is I could drag select over this. Notice I'm getting more than what I need. Control C, Control V, and then edit, transform, warp, and now I can kind of push this into place. Ah, there we go, something like that. I could turn the shading off, and now I can kind of see what I have. And it might be kind of obvious where I cut that. So what I'm going to do is go here, make a layer mask, and then make sure I have a nice feathered edge brush, kind of paint black to erase and kind of seamlessly blend into its surroundings. Ah, there we go. I can see maybe the nose as well. So what I might do, come here, grab some of this, make sure that I'm on the right layer. There it is. Control C, Control V. Edit, transform, warp. Okay, that looks good. Let's use this. And that's why I like to use a layer mask instead of erasing, because I can kind of go back and forth. So if I'm like, oh, I change my mind, I can always hit X to make it white and kind of bring in that back. Okay, good. So now it might not be perfect, but I'm okay with that. I'm just going to merge these back down. So layer, merge down, preserve, and you'll notice that merge down is Control E. So I could just hit Control E, preserve, there we go. And let's try that. So if I go File, Save, I don't want to save as, I want to just regular save. Now if I come back here, I'm going to say re-enter ZBrush. I'm going to say pick up now. And now it's going to think about it. And what it's doing is it's projecting that color onto our character. And I can see that, hey, that's cool. It's on there. Now if I go to the side, and I'm going to the side because I know that I have a side image that's good. Okay. Now when I'm on the side, I'm going to go like this. Document, ZAppLink, drop now, update. Okay, great. Now I'm going to go ahead and open that side view. Ah, here it is. And this is where it's going to get a little bit tricky, but not too bad. Control V, Control T, bring this down. And what I'm going to do, I think I'm going to kind of focus on the ear and the hairline. Okay, I'm really kind of that hairline, I think is going to be kind of my main concern. Notice the ear isn't kind of quote unquote perfect, but I feel like I'm looking at kind of the hairline. Okay. And now the tricky part. So I know that the front is actually pretty good. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my layer mask. And I'm going to use black with a feathered edge brush. And my goal is to erase as much from the front as I can. So I'm going to go like this. Now I'm not concerned about that white or how weird that is on the nose. I'm just going to kind of erase, thinking that I have the front kind of established as I want. Okay. And now if I feel like, if I go like this, I'm like, oh shoot, I'm going too far. I'm going to hit X. I'm going to bring this image back here. Okay. Maybe I want it there, and then oh. Okay. And if I want to kind of see what I'm doing here, if I turn this one off, if I have, you know, basically all kind of dark here, I know that that's going to be kind of protected from the front projection, and then it's going to seamlessly go into this one. So I'm kind of looking at, okay, kind of play these back and forth to make sense. And I can see something like the ear isn't fitting perfectly. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over this ear. Maybe I'll turn this off. I'm going to grab the ear by itself, Control C, Control V, and now I'll go to Transform, Warp, and now I can kind of go like this. Maybe I'll zoom in a little bit. And just kind of go like that and push this into place. Ah, there we go. Might not be perfect, but you know, that once again, that's okay. And then it's obviously really obvious where that corner is, so I'm going to just go here to the masking, and with the feathered brush I'm going to kind of go like this. Okay, I can also see that right here, obviously I want that to be hair, so I might have to use my Photoshop kind of trickery. Maybe grab some of this, bring this down like that, maybe stretch this up, and once again maybe a layer mask. Just kind of do my best. And I might, maybe I'll duplicate that layer. I might not be even super concerned about getting this perfect yet, because I feel like I might, there's other ways that I can kind of quote unquote make this perfect after I know that this is exactly what I want. Okay, that's looking pretty good. Maybe I don't worry about the back of it yet. Yeah, let's see what this is looking like. So I'm going to hit Control E, hit preserve. There we go. Control E, Control E. Okay, good. And now if I go File, Save As, or just Save. Now if I go back here, re-enter ZBrush, pick up now. Okay, I'm waiting until it says I can reorientate. Okay, good. Now you can see that, yeah, the ear still needs work, but maybe maybe I rotate it at a 3/4 angle like this. Okay, and I go to Document, ZAppLink, Drop Now, Update, and now let's take a look. So remember, I do have a 3/4 view. Okay. Control V, and you know, maybe, well, actually, maybe what I want is maybe I don't want to use this view yet. Maybe what I want to do is go in with my clone stamp tool and kind of clone stamp some areas to be cleaned up. Or, you know, maybe looking at this, maybe I'll help it with the nose. So I'll grab the nose here and kind of go like this. And you can kind of see that I can use my shading for alignment. There we go, something kind of like that. And it doesn't have to be perfect, because once again, I'm going to find that feathered edge brush, or along with the layer mask. And just kind of go like this. Okay, there we go. We can start to see, and I can see the difference with and without. Okay, and then here I could go in with something maybe on the ear. Maybe I'll do that from a separate angle. But maybe here I'll go back to this one. And let's not forget that we could use things like the maybe the spot healing brush. And I could bring this up like this and kind of go like that. I don't know, to kind of fix some areas. I can see here's an extra eyebrow. Okay, and so let's not forget that we can kind of use this. I could also use maybe clone stamp to kind of fix some areas. But it's cool. I feel like we have the full power of Photoshop here. Okay, now, and I feel like on this area here, I don't really need, you know, the eye in here. So what I might do is just maybe get this red, and I'm just going to kind of color this red because I would have physical eyeballs in there. So just in case, like, we saw in there, I feel like it's probably more appropriate to have this red. So it's not that it always has to be a photograph. I could use my, you know, my painting skills in Photoshop. I could use my clone stamp, my spot healing, layer masking, whatever I want in here. And, you know, it's kind of creepy, but I'll just Control E to bring that down. Whoop. I don't want this one anymore. Control E, preserve, and then file save. Let's go back to ZBrush, re-enter, pick up now. Okay, and you know, if I look at this, maybe this is the best angle of the ear. So now I'm going to kind of do another projection, just thinking about the ear. So maybe like just right at that angle there. ZAppLink, drop now, update, and now I'll go ahead and bring in that ear and just the ear. I'll zoom in and really get this. You can see that I can get it a lot even without warping it. And that's what I'm saying, like I wasn't really that concerned about getting it perfect before. Maybe I'll use my warp to just help it a little bit. Yeah, there we go. They might be saying, well, you know, it's different resolution. It's, you know, different detail. And yeah, you're right. I feel like, so you might have to kind of be careful with that. But I feel like, you know, you might use this for maybe just texture alignment that you do later. Or maybe that is okay that you have different resolution. I'm just kind of showing you different techniques, and you kind of use this however you want. Okay. Now here, I'll kind of show another way to kind of correct that. But let's say that's good for now. So I'll save. I'll re-enter ZBrush. Okay, pick up now. And I can see, yeah, how much better it's all coming together. And realize that these photos of this guy didn't have anything to do with this guy here, this model. But imagine if it did. You know, it'd even be better. I'm just going to go to Actual so we can kind of see this. And now, let's not forget that this is poly-painted. Okay, so that means that it's directly on the polygons. So what I could do is if I go to RGB, I'm going to turn off Z-Add, I can paint on this. Okay, so that means that if I press C, it's going to grab the exact color. Notice that if I'm on here and I want to draw your attention to right here, if I press C, I grab that brown. And if I grab C, I grab that color here. And now I can kind of paint on here. Okay, you can see how it's kind of cheesy if you paint because it looks so, you know, kind of exact color, but I could kind of paint in here, and then I could kind of even smooth over it. So maybe I want to sample this color, so I'll press C. Come in here, there we go. There we go, nice. I could even go to, instead of this, I could like go to color spray, and if I press C, you know, now I'm kind of getting, that's kind of weird. Let's try just spray. Okay, so it's going to kind of do colors, and maybe I don't want the RGB intensity to be all the way up, so I can go like this. So it's kind of like has some variation in there. So that's another way that I can kind of do that, is to just kind of paint on there. So for example, I could just say C to grab the color in that eye, and now I could paint this one out. And even with the color variation, it looks a little bit nice. Because it might have been hard to kind of reach these angles. I mean, I guess if I projected it from this angle, I could reach that angle, but sometimes it's better to just, I feel like, kind of color it yourself. And then even up here, this is kind of a tricky angle as well. Okay, cool. And you know, I could spend as much time as I wanted on this. I could even press Shift and smooth that out now, because it's actually smoothing out the color, you know, the coloring of that. But really a fast way to do this. Here I can see here. Now to fix that, I could come in here, you know, kind of shift to smooth that out. I could color it with Polypaint, or I could project it like another photograph. But I feel like you can see that I kind of have to move this around quite a few angles to project from all different angles. But ideally, once again, if you have a face from all these different angles, you should be able to do that. And now the last thing is that this is polypainted. So this means that it's not on the UVs yet. Okay, so if I want it on the UVs, what I need to do is I need to, you can see here if I go to texture map, there is no texture. If I go to Polypaint, I can see that if I turn that off, that's that, and then that's with the Polypaint. So this guy, in fact, he doesn't have any UVs yet. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to apply some quick UVs. So if I go to Z plugin, I'm going to drag this over here. I'm going to go to UVMaster, and I'm going to say work on clone, so I don't ruin what I have. I just work on clone. And now there he is. I'm going to say unwrap, and it's going to unwrap it. And I'm going to say check seams. Those are the seams that it put on. Okay, that's not acceptable, so I'm going to say enable control painting. I'm going to uncheck that, and I'm going to say enable control painting, protect, and I'm going to say I want to protect this area. Okay, so I'm protecting it from seams. Okay, great. Now let me try that one more time. So if I hit unwrap, if I check the seams, that's where I put the seams, and there's no longer a seam down the center of the face. Let's see what that looks like. So if I hit flatten, that's a good layout for the face. I'm going to hit unflatten, and now I'm going to go ahead and copy these UVs, and then I'm going to go back here, and I'm going to select my original face, and I'm going to say paste UVs. Okay, kind of hard to tell, but this guy now has those UVs, which he didn't have any before. So now what I can do is I can go to UV map, and I can say, how big do I want this map? 4K. I could actually make it 8K if I want to. It's kind of hidden. I just have to move that slider all the way there. And now I could say, notice once again, there's no texture map. I'm just going to say new texture. Okay. Okay, so it's saying that, hey, my memory is going to be kind of crazy. So if I go back here, once again, Polypaint, Colorize, if I turn this off, I can see the Polypaint, but if I turn it on, you can see that it kind of overrides it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say create new texture from the Polypaint information. So if I say new from Polypaint, now what it's going to do is you can see that it took that projected image and then it applied it to the UV map where it needed to be. So now I could bring this 2D map into Photoshop, and I could continue to work it even further if I wanted to. So, hopefully that was a good look at what ZAppLink was. I feel like it's kind of not talked about a lot. I feel like a lot of this is hand painted now, but I think that a really kind of a fun, fast way to do photo projections in ZBrush. If this was helpful, make sure to subscribe and take a look at all the other videos that I have, not only in ZBrush, but Substance Painter, Maya, Blender, Procreate. All right, see you later.